So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our precast webinar series. This is the fourth series out of 7 of our precast webinar series. The topic of this webinar is comparison of precast versus non-precast building. So for our session today, the second speaker is Dr. Pramuda Budisuryadi. He is currently an associate professor at the Department of Civil Engineering, Petra Christian University, where he got his Bachelor of Engineering degree. He received his Master of Engineering degree from Asian Institute of Technology and his doctoral degree from 10 November Institute of Technology. His research interests include structural analysis, earthquake engineering, and retrofitting of reinforced concrete structures. So the presentation time will be 45 minutes and then will be followed by questions and answers. Okay, Dr. Pramuda, time is yours.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Jimmy. Can you hear my voice, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen, Dr. Jimmy?
Yes.
Hello. Okay,
Yes,
let me
yes.
start.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will talk about the design provision for the precast concrete in our current concrete code. Firstly, I want to share a little bit about my background. Okay, I'm a designer and not a builder or constructor, and mostly I design cast in situ or cast in place RC structures. So I have to admit that I still have only little experience in precast member design. I only have experience in designing precast pre-stressed concrete pile for foundation and also concrete sleeper for the railway. And I never designed a whole precast structure or system. Okay, with that background, logically, what should I do or what we do if you have the same situation as me? I think we should start embrace the future, assuming that the future is the precast system. Okay, so we need to start learn more about the precast concrete design. Okay, actually, what I'm going to present this afternoon is a note. Well, I learned the precast concrete design provision in our code. I will not go into detail of the design explanation. It will be quite lengthy because we have 27 chapters of the code. So it will be more like a map of where we should read more if we want to go designing a precast concrete system. Okay, so this presentation is very suitable for those who are already familiar with the cast in place part of the code. Because of the limitation of time, the provisions that apply for both system, I will skip or only briefly review. Okay, I think I will start with a quick background of the comparison between the two systems. I will not go too long about this since Mr. Mati already explained the comparison quite thoroughly. The definition, I think we can see it by yourself. I will share the presentation later after the session. Okay. In terms of casting and quality control, Mr. Mati also already talked about that. We have a better quality for precast concrete since it is easier to control. The cost is cheaper for large construction with high repetition. For worker and machinery, for precast concrete, definitely we will have we need less number of labor, but it's more skillful, and we need heavier machinery, right? Bigger crane, etc. Construction time is faster. Finishing is easier. Okay. And the last thing that will be emphasized of my talk is the technical points. Okay. If we talk about precast concrete, we will have many joints, and it may lead to less resistant structure against lateral load. That will be a problem. And we will have many more stages handling to erection that we have to consider. So the same dimension, maybe we will need more enforcement because of the handling and additional load during construction. This is an illustration just to give you idea of how many type of connection that we will face for a precast system. Okay, I think you already have an idea of this one. Connections, usually they use simple supported for horizontal components, since the capacity of positive moment is easier and less expensive to achieve. If we go to continue connection, usually it is difficult to achieve, and the restraint to volume change in rigid connection may cause cracking. So if we don't need to go for the rigid connection, I think simple supported connection is a much simpler choice. But rigid or moment connection may be required to resist lateral load. In our country, Indonesia, I think it's a must because we have many earthquake activities. What I mean by resist, we need to provide strength and ductility capacities, and it requires more detailing, construction process, more careful, I think, yeah. Careful detailing, careful construction process, and inspection, making it more difficult. That's the challenges. These slides give you a classification of the connection. Usually, we have two classification. The one that emulate cast in place concrete system. This connection will remain elastic during the earthquake, since the yielding will occur in the member, not the connection. And the opposite side will be the ductile connection. I think we will go to this definition again in the codes. These slides, just to remind you, the assumption we have to make in the design process must be consistent with the type of the chosen connection. Okay. So if we go for strong connection or simple supported connection, we have to be aware of the consequences. We need to be consistent. So I will highlight the key differences in the term of technical point of view. I think we all agree that the connection is something to look. This is the main key difference. And the way they are casted or manufactured, and the way they are constructed or erected in the construction site will be another differences between the precast system and conventional one. So with these differences, I will go through our code and see what does it say about precast concrete system. Okay. So we have 27 chapters, and we have about, say, 30 something minutes. So I will go through fast. Yeah, I will not go into detailed explanation. I just give you some idea where we should read more. Okay. So basically, I just search for the keyword precast in our code and see where it comes up. Okay. Chapter 1, in the section of applicability, I cannot see any special sentence that the code only applies for conventional system. So it definitely also applies for precast concrete. So okay, we are on the right track to learn this code cover precast concrete system. And another one, for approval of special system of design, construction, or construction material, our code give us room for innovation, right? So anything which are not specifically mentioned in the code, I think we can propose it for application, but it must be approved by building officials and passes the analysis and tests. Okay, so I think for precaster manufacturers and innovation for connection, maybe this section is very important for them. Next, chapter 2 only talks about notation and terminology. Okay, the first one I don't have to read for you. It's only the definition. And the connection, we have another confirmation that the connection for precast element is there. The provision is there. We can design it as strong connection or ductile connection. And for the earthquake resistant system, earthquake force resisting system, we do have some provisions. We have ordinary moment frame and special moment frame. And if we look at this chapter 18, it will talk about earthquake design. So good news, it means our current code allow the precast system to be designed in seismic region, right? It's black on white. It's here. Chapter 3 on the list the reference standard. I think you can read it by yourself in the code. The chapter 4, structural system requirement. If I go through chapter 4, the word precast only appear on this table. So it reminds us to provide good structural integrity for precast system. So important chapter here, chapter 16, talks about the joint and connection. Okay, we will have many provision on this chapter for precast concrete. Next part of chapter 4 only to remind us if in precast concrete design from initiation to end of use. Okay, and the load paths should be clear.
Kalau lihat di map,
I think you can read it by yourself in detail. Chapter 5 remind us to take care of this T-force. This T-force is the structural effects of forces due to the restraint of volume change and differential settlement. Okay, if we use rigid connection, this might be a problem. Okay, it's simple connection, expansion joint, we will not have force induced from the differential movement. Chapter 6 only talks about structural analysis. It reminds us that we have to model the stiffness of the members with reasonable assumption, consistent assumption. I think that is rigid or partially rigid. We have to know the characteristic of the connection, so that in the design process we can make adjustment of the stiffness. Okay. Starting again, other than the connection, it only give you additional provision for the precast one for reinforcement detailing, bottom flexural reinforcements will be extended beyond the center of bearing point. Okay, it's clear here. Deflection limits, we have the type. So if you are already expert for cast in situ provision, I think additional thing to learn is not so many. Chapter 9, we already talking about beams. Again, the connection they refer to chapter 16 once again, and special edition provision for torsion. The code permitted us to use alternative design, but it should be approved by analysis, and I think it should be approved by officials. Okay, maybe some columns. Columns only this part coming from a precast point of view. So we need to provide transverse reinforcement to support the longitudinal one for a certain precast column. Okay, you can see the detail of the condition in section 10.7.6. All other part of chapter 10 is the same, a table for reinforcement limit right here. And we have another other additional provision for spacing of longitudinal reinforcement and also transverse reinforcement for precast walls. Okay, you can see it in section 11.7.2 and 7.3. For diaphragms, to resist tension due to moment, we are allowed to use mechanical connectors right here. And in designing these connectors, it should be aware that there is joint opening that should be anticipated. Okay. For diaphragms that needs to resist shear, we have some equation to calculate the nominal strength. This one is for cast-in-place concrete topping slabs on precast element. So we have a half slab of precast element, and we put wet concrete on top. We can use these equations to calculate the strength. And for precast slab without any topping, we can calculate the strength from this chapter. Okay. Chapter 13 talks about foundations. Not so many things here. Only in one sentence the precast word appear. It also mentioned about the connection, and we have special provision for that in chapter 16.3. We will look into that in chapter 16 later. Chapter 14 talks about plain concrete, nothing to do with precast or cast in situ, so nothing to explain here in terms of precast system. Chapter 15 for beam column and slab column joints. Our code, the ACI code, simply refer the PCI Prestressed Concrete Institute to give the idea of recommended connection details. I give you some examples that I took from PCI Design Handbook. So there are some illustration of the details of connection that is recommended by ACI, referring to PCI Design Handbook. Okay, this one is, I think, is beam and column connection. Okay. So we are now at chapter 16, the main part of the code that talks precast a lot. Okay. So firstly, in connection of precast members in general, there are some types of connection that are permitted to transfer the force. Okay, there are many. I think in the previous webinar series, there are many presentations talking about this kind of joints, bearing joint, anchors, mechanical connectors, steel reinforcement, and so on, and their combination. All is not permitted. It's very dangerous, yeah, because the gravity load may change and the intensity
There is a connection problem, I think, from Dr. Pamuda. Maybe we wait maybe for a while.
Pak Pam. Masih mute Pak Pam. Connection problem ya.
Hi, am I on again?
Okay, yes. Maybe you can share your screen.
Okay, okay.
You can share.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Sorry for the connection problem. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Dr. Jimmy?
Okay, yes. Now,
Hello?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me continue. This one is the example of illustration of the connection. This is the grotted connections. Anchors, I think the same for both system anchors. This one is bearing connection. This one is called shear keys. Okay. And chapter 16, besides explaining the types of connection that are allowed, they also give provision how to calculate the strength. Okay, we have the required strength. We can calculate it from chapter 5 and 6, the required strength, and the design strength. It follows general rule that the reduced nominal strength should be larger or equal to the required strength. Okay, required strength is here, U. I think it's the general equation. It applies for both system. Okay, for bearing type of connection, you can see the calculation in chapter 22.8. And if the shear is the primary result of the imposed loading, it is suggested to use shear friction type of connection. And it can be seen in chapter 22.9. Okay, one more thing that is very important for the connection is the integrated tie. Okay. So in chapter 16, it also explained about what kind of reinforcement that we need to connect all the elements together. It is called the integrated tie. In this illustration, you can see that in order to make it one whole integrated structure, we have to provide transverse integrated tie, longitudinal, vertical, and also perimeter in the building. Okay. This one is the cross section of the ties, transversal ties, longitudinal and peripheral ties. This one is another example of longitudinal ties. Chapter 16 also gives us information about minimum dimensions of the bearing connection. So make sure that you satisfy this detail. 16.3 talks about the connection to foundation. Okay, basically all the loads from upper structure shall be transferred to foundation by what means in our code they give us some options. Okay, bearing on concrete is allowed by reinforcement, dowels, anchor bolt, and mechanical connectors. And again, the required strength can be calculated from chapter 5 and 6. Design strength again follow the general rule. Strength reduction factor can be seen in chapter 21 later. And the nominal bearing strength again refer to the same section. Also, shear friction is allowed. For the one who want to use anchor bolts and anchor for mechanical connection, the calculation of the strength can be seen in chapter 17. Okay. And next, chapter 16 also give us detailed connection between precast member and the foundation. Okay. The detail you can follow this explanation here. And chapter 17, there is no precast word anywhere in that chapter, because anchoring system to the concrete is the same, basically the same for precast or conventional concrete. Okay, so there's nothing no more special provision for precast system. Okay, chapter 18 talks about earthquake resistant structure. So the scope, it applies to building with seismic design category B through F. And we have to remember that the structure designed by this chapter are intended to resist earthquake through ductile inelastic response. And chapter 18 states that if there is anything conflict between other chapters and this chapter 18, chapter 18 shall govern. Okay, this is important. And this one listed the provision you have to follow with certain seismic design category. Okay. And next slides. This one is a list of lateral force resistance system for reinforced concrete that is informed in this code, and we have the provision. There are 8 of them, and three of those we have option for go for precast system. Okay, so for precast system to resist lateral earthquake load, we have these 3 options: intermediate precast walls, special moment frame, and special structural wall. Okay, only 3. Let us see one by one. Intermediate. It only gives us additional provision for connection, and the strength for the part that are not designed to yield. Okay, very simple. The additional provision is very little. For special structural wall, this 6 part for precast and conventional is the same. Okay, if you already familiar with conventional design of special wall, these are the same. These 6 are the same. For precast concrete, you only have to add to consider one more part, 18.11, and it's only provisions to this certain condition of precast concrete wall are permitted to use, but it should satisfy the requirements stated in this ACI. And this ACI is acceptance consists the content of the ACI is acceptance criteria based on testing. Okay, so we need to prove it in experimental lab if we go to design with special structural wall meeting this condition, unbonded post-tensioning tendons and so on. This one is for special moment frame. Again, this 6 part is the same for precast and conventional one. If you go for precast concrete, you need to see only one additional part, 18.9 for a special moment frame. And if we look into that, the code only give us guidance to design the connection. We can have ductile connection. You should follow this requirement. Or optionally, you can have a strong connection. And we have more stringent provision for that. Okay. This illustration gives you some idea of the strong connection. The idea is that the plastic hinge region should be away from the connection, right? So this one remain elastic. This one is beam to beam connection, beam to column connection, column to footing. Okay, this only gives you idea that you have to make sure that the plastic hinge region should be away from the connection if you want the connection to be designed as strong connection. Okay, chapter 19 about design and durability. I think there is a special series for this one. I think in the 6 or 7 series, the topic will be durability. So I will skip this. Chapter 20 talks about reinforcement properties, durability, and embedments. So if we look at precast, they only have additional requirement for concrete cover. Okay, it has its own table for concrete cover, precast concrete, and for corrosive environment, you need to multiply 1.5 times of this value in the tables. Okay, you can see it in detail by yourself on the tables. The concrete cover for precast concrete. Chapter 21 is the strength reduction factor. I think is almost the same for precast and non-precast concrete. I don't know why they mention this part special, but if I see the keyword tension here and the value 0.9, I think it's the same with conventional system. But they listed special for precast. I'm not sure why. Chapter 22 and 23, the sectional strength and strut anti theory and models, purely the same. Yeah. For precast and non-precast concrete, it's the same. So if you're already familiar with that, you can apply for both systems. Chapter 24, the serviceability requirements. It reminds us to consider many factors to calculate the deflection. Maybe the condition of precast system and cast in situ not exactly the same, so we have to be careful. And this one is the exception. We may not require certain flexural reinforcement in perpendicular direction for shrinkage and temperature reinforcement or one-way precast slab if we meet some certain condition. Okay, I think it's for smaller precast elements. You don't have to put shrinkage and temperature reinforcement in the perpendicular direction of the flexural action. Chapter 25 is the reinforcement details. It covers these topics. I think in general the provision in this chapter are the same for precast and cast in situ system. If there is additional reinforcement detail for precast system, it already informed in its chapter, like earlier. Okay, like the extension of bars beyond the bearing support, etc. So that kind of detail already mentioned in the corresponding chapters. Chapter 26 only talks about the documents. I think you can see it by yourself. Only one additional document required for Precast Concrete projects. And lastly, chapter 27 talks about the strength evaluation of existing structure. So if precast members to be made composite with cast in place concrete with topping, maybe it is permitted to be tested in flexure only the precast member alone. Okay, but you have to make equivalent total force as the composite condition in the lab. Okay. So after I go through all chapter, 27 chapters overall, I make two conclusions. First one, there are three words that I highlight in red as I study the additional provisions. I think they are all related with connections, the way the elements are casted, and the way the structures are constructed or connected. Okay. Besides those three differences, I think both systems are mostly the same in the design point of view. So if you imagining 27 chapters, I think maybe 70 or 80% of that is the same. So if you want to go for precast system, you only need to spend a little more, okay, to start go for precast system. So second one, I encourage everyone not to hesitate to start using precast concrete system, whether you are designer or constructors, because our current code, I think, is quite complete, and if we learn it carefully, I think in the eye of design, we can have a comprehensive one. Okay, I think that's all, Pak Jimmy. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pamuda, for the presentation. So now we are entering the questions and answer sessions. So for those of you who would like to ask your question directly to Dr. Pamuda, you can raise your hand and I will call your name and you can unmute your microphone and ask your questions. You may also ask your question in Bahasa to Dr. Pamuda. He will be happy to answer it. Or if you prefer to write down your question in the chat box, you can also write down your question and I will try to read for Dr. Pamuda. Okay, is there any question from the audience? I have not seen any questions. So the presentations are already very clear.
It's already weekend, afternoon weekend.
It's already late afternoon, so everybody. Okay. If there is no question, okay, I will start for a simple question for Dr. Pamuda.
Okay.
So, so based on your review on our current design codes,
yeah.
So is there any special requirements for the precast concrete in terms of the connection design? I mean, whether we have to choose strong connections, or we can also use the tactile connections, or it's up to us, I mean, the designer to choose, or the code specified, okay, in this area you have to use a certain kind of connection, or in other area you can choose whatever it is. Maybe that is my questions.
Okay, thank you for the question, Pak Jimmy. As I understand the code, I think it's up to us. In chapter 18 that I showed you earlier, we have 3 options of the lateral force resisting system. If we choose frame, of course, we have to resist the force with bending action, meaning we have moment connection. So if we choose special moment frame, of course, we have to choose the rigid connection. And it has to be ductile, okay? But if you choose special structural wall for the lateral force resisting system, I think the other part of the structure, maybe we can use only flat slab because it's only to resist the gravity load. We can use simple connection for that. But we have to pay attention for the deformation because the connection may not resist the forces, but it experiences the deformation. We have to be careful of the dimension of the bearing or anything else, so not to slip, okay? So the force will be resisted by the wall, but the other part of the connection should also resist the deformation only. We have to consider that. I think it's up to us.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Dr. Pramuda. Is there any question from the audience? Yes, Dr. Anthony?
Yes. There's a question from Marty also. Okay, my question is for Dr. Pramuda. Is like when you are reading the code, like there is a provision for the precast, and I mean they allow us to use precast in the construction. But what do you think about the hesitancy? Why the precast is still uncommon in Indonesia, even though the code already specified the allowance on that kind of structures?
Okay, I don't have any rigid data to answer your question. So it's only in my opinion because I do not do the survey. Okay. In opinion, maybe it's simply by looking at the physical of the structure, because casting in one solid integrity in the conventional concrete, it's logical to think that it's more solid. For precast members to be jointed in the construction, people may hesitate about the strength of the connection. I think as simple as that. Common people will think.
Yeah, but I mean, we know that the design we can apply the design for everything, right? Even the joint can be quite rigid. Yeah, if
my answer earlier is in the eye of non-engineer person maybe. For the eye of engineer, maybe they have not go through the code in very detail.
Okay.
Okay, I hope that answered the question, Dr. Anthony. Now there is a Mr. Mati Mikola. Yes, yeah, you can ask your questions. Yes.
Yeah, before I answer, before I ask my question, I would like to say the hesitancy of people going into precast oftentimes is because of liabilities. So if you continue doing cast in situ structure and cast in situ design, you are doing nothing different and your liabilities are not any higher. But the moment you go into precast and you're presenting the client with something new, you actually take more liability on your shoulder because you are bringing something new And
I
if
see.
something goes wrong, then maybe the client will say, look, this is because you wanted to do precast. Maybe this is one reason. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, in your introduction, you mentioned that you had been involved with design of railway and precast sleepers. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Is this for Indonesia?
Yes, in Indonesia.
So which standard do you design the sleepers according to in Indonesia?
Very, very interesting question, because our concrete code, our current concrete code, we adopt from American code, the ACI. But when I have experience in designing railway sleeper, it use I think.
Is it Australian code like in Malaysia?
No. American code, also American code.
Okay, American code. All right.
ESTO or something.
Okay.
And for the precast pile, it's more interesting. It uses Japanese code.
Yes.
Yes, that is very common. So it's a mixture of different codes.
Yeah, when we propose the design calculation based on American code, the older guys, not older guys, the one who play the role in the industry longer will question, is that correct? Usually we use Japanese code.
Yes, that's also very common. It's correct. Also in Malaysia for railway sleepers, railway generally is Australian code. Otherwise it's British standard, but now more and more commonly Euro code. So it's also a mixture of many, but okay.
Same here.
Thank you very much. Good.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matthew Mikola, for the question. Now we are moving to the next question from Mr. Denny. This is in Bahasa, so maybe I read it directly. So this is related to the course. Apakah di Universitas Petra desain bangunan precast diajarkan kepada mahasiswa? Ini cocok sekali Pak Pemuda sebagai dosen beton. Yang nomor 2, apakah komponen-komponen precast yang ada di industri seperti HCS, precast wall, house slab juga diajarkan kepada mahasiswa? Nah, ini silahkan Pak Pemuda, dosen desain beton.
Terima kasih pertanyaannya Pak Denny. Saya seperti Pak Jimmy katakan dosen beton betul, tapi betonnya itu beton yang elementer, beton 1, dan beton untuk tahan gempa Pak Denny. Untuk yang precast ini di kurikulum kita elektif. Yang mengajar kebetulan adalah speaker dari Petra yang 2 minggu lalu, Pak Gunawan, yang mengajar precast. Tapi entah dari turun-temurun dari kakak kelasnya atau bagaimana, peminatnya ini biasanya adik kelas ngikut atasnya. Mestinya yang tahu Pak Gunawan, ini diminati apa enggak ini. Padahal sayang kalau precast kita lulus sebagai S1 sarjana, begitu ya. Precast-nya nggak dapat, sayang sekali. Diajarkan Pak, tapi mata kuliahnya elektif, bukan wajib. Lalu komponen precast yang ada di industri seperti hollow core slab, precast wall, apakah diajarkan ke mahasiswa? Mungkin mostly only the beams, basically, Pak Denny. House slab, hollow core slab, precast wall, I'm not sure.
Oke, kira-kira menjawab pertanyaannya mestinya ya.
Precast and pre-stress, one lecture, one course.
Oke, mungkin ada pertanyaan lain dari audiens. Jadi memang dengan diadakannya seminar precast ini sebetulnya kita juga ingin mulai introduce precast structures ya, lebih banyak ke mahasiswa Petra. Jadi ini kan kita juga masukkan sebagai satu mata kuliah tambahan pada para mahasiswa supaya mahasiswa juga sudah mulai belajar tentang berbagai macam precast ya.
Hopefully next semester Pak Gunawan's class will be full.
Oke, ini ada pertanyaan berikutnya dari Pak Hari. Silahkan Pak Hari.
Ya, masukan just information. We have several complementary precast code ya.
Yeah.
I think now is already issued by Indonesian National Standard ya. There is already 6 complementary precast code. Yeah, we plan to release about 5 or 6 ya, 6 again complementary code. All of them identically adopted from ICI, also complementary code ya, for precast.
Okay.
And after ya, all of complementary code is released by Indonesian National Standard. We will abolish the 7833 ya. So the 7833 2012 is issued because there is slowly updating about the concrete general concrete code ya. So our general concrete code has been not updated ya from PB 71 ya. Or 2002, and then after that general code is released in 2013 ya. But in 2013 not complementary is not issued.
Okay.
A very large portion ya in precast in the commentary. So we push in 2019 that the commentary must be included in our general concrete code.
Okay.
So now 2847 2019 is complete ya, to get a reference for precast ya. But
Yeah.
we still need about 10 complementary ya. All the complementary is in the commentary ya, in our concrete general code.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, we decide to still not abolish 7833 until all of the complementary is issued by Indonesian National Standard. Yeah, we hope in 2 years, yeah, we will complete all of the complementary. Yeah, there's also slow because of pandemic. Yeah, we hope in this year already all of complementary issued, but yeah, we must wait a while. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's information. Yes, information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ari, for the information.
The SNI 7883 is the one that Pak Ari mentioned in your keynote speech, right? In the first series.
Yeah. There's historical progress. Yeah, when our general building concrete building code is still not updated, we push the special code. It's taken by ICI 2008, but including the commentary.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Ari, for the information.
Oke, kemudian ini ada saran dari Pak David. sekarang mata pelajaran Prikas seharusnya masuk mata kuliah wajib. Ya Pak, kita sedang menuju ke sana. Jadi memang kita ini kita sekarang sudah mengadakan dengan inisiatif dengan seminar ini. Semoga nanti ke depannya kita juga bisa memasukkan kurikulum Prikas konkret ini sebagai kurikulum wajib untuk para mahasiswa. Kemudian juga kita juga dengan adanya lab kita yang baru, kita juga ingin juga mulai masuk penelitian ke Prikas konkret juga. Okay, is there any question from the audience? Any more questions? Okay, if there is no more question, I think that will be the end of this session. Thank you, Dr. Pamuda, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. I would like also to thank every participant for joining this webinar from the start until the end. And I would like to apologize if there is any mistake during this webinar. I will thank you once again, and I'll return back to Dr. Anthony.
Thank you Pak Jimmy, Pak Pamuda, dan komentar-komentar dari para peserta, Pak Hari juga. Thank you everyone for joining this today's webinar. So for the announcement, I will say a few announcements. So once again, I will say about the next webinar. So the next webinar will be held on 23rd of October. So 23rd of October, we have a webinar with the speakers, Professor Sri Sritharan. He is one of the inventor for the press system. So I think it should be very beneficial for us. So he will talk about the unbonded precast post-tension rocking wall. So this is the one that quite eye-opening, because when we are thinking the joint should be like rigid, like when we say rigid. But this is very interesting because the joint does not need to be rigid because of the post-tension system. So I think this is a very interesting topic. And then the future, like we see in the first webinars, the future will be moving toward other system rather than the rigid joint. So I think we have a very good opportunity to learn from the expert. But unfortunately, the time is we need to change. The time we need to start from 9 a.m. So for the next 2 weeks, the webinar normally 1 p.m. will change to 9 a.m. So please set your reminder at that time. We will also remind you again. But for some of the participants that cannot join the webinar at that time, we will still record the webinar and then we'll share it to you in YouTube. So also the previous first two, the third webinar that we have done is ready to be viewed. So I will share the link in the chat room. You can just copy, or you can just search Lab Beton Petra with the mind. Okay. Okay. So this is the link I will share for the participant. You can just save the link and then you can view it later. Today's webinar will also try to edit and then we will share also in the YouTube, so you can see and then study again. And then for the presentation from the speakers, I will also share it with the common link, but I will share it later. Okay. And then one more thing is the questionnaire. Please share the questionnaire. Yeah. Okay. The evaluation form is as follows. Please, you can fill it before we leave. So that is all for the announcement. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the speakers, Mr. Mati Mikola and Dr. Pamuda Pujisuryadi. And also thank you for our moderator, Dr. Jimmy Chandra, and also from the Recruitment and Elematic as the sponsor for these webinars. So thank you, everyone. So, we'll meet again in 2 weeks.